We know that the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase is coming on June 13th, and this is my preview prediction video where I run through everything I think will be at the show. There's a lot here to talk about, so let's get into it. What is going on, everybody? It's RandallThor19, the man with the million, back again with another video. I hope everyone's having an awesome day, and if you guys can do me a huge favor, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and please hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for checking out today's video. As most of you know by now, this is a video tradition where I try to preview or predict everything that's going to show up at an Xbox event, and we have a huge event coming up. Xbox and Bethesda, their first combined joint press conference coming to you on June 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific. I know everybody is super excited to see what Microsoft and Bethesda are going to show, and I really do think that this is going to be a very solid and good show, and it might even actually be great depending on how everything shows up. For me, it's all about presentation. When you actually look at last year and you see the list of games that Microsoft announced, from Avowed to Fable to State of Decay 3 to Forza Motorsport, it looked really good on paper, but the presentation was a little bit disappointing. All the new game releases were short CGI trailers, and Halo Infinite disappointed many people. It was the presentation and how those games showed up last year that brought down the show and many people's opinions, and I think that can be rectified this year if the games that Microsoft shows, from Halo Infinite to Starfield, show off incredibly well with gameplay. Gameplay is what people want to see from these next generation titles, and if Microsoft delivers that in spades, this show can actually be great. So with all that said, let's dive into this 90-minute show that Xbox and Bethesda is putting on, and we're going to start at the very beginning. What game is going to open up the show? And I have two candidates here to choose from. I think it's either going to be Halo Infinite or Starfield. Halo Infinite has been shown off at the last three E3s. In 2018, it opened the show. 2019, it closed. Last year at the Game Showcase, it opened again. And you can make a strong argument for Halo Infinite to open this year by showing off all the improvements they made to the game. But I feel Halo Infinite is more than likely going to close the show and maybe give us a window into the release date, holiday 2021, without an actual date. So with that said, I feel Starfield, yes, Starfield is actually going to open the show. They'll show a gameplay trailer, and Todd Howard will appear on stage, and he will give some sort of voiceover narration about what exactly Starfield is. Now, it won't be as long as his Fallout 4 or Fallout 76 demos that he did at previous E3s, but that, I think, is the vibe they are going for. Todd Howard and Starfield and Bethesda open up this Xbox show, giving a 8 to 10 minute preview of the game, and then it ends with holiday 2022. Now, another game that is 100% a shoo-in to be there is the next installment in the Forza Horizon franchise, Forza Horizon 5, or perhaps they're going to call it Forza Horizon Mexico. I don't really know, but I do think that game shows up. I do think Playground will demo it, maybe give it a short demo, 5 minutes. I mean, they are the masters of the racing genre. They know how to demo this properly. They did it with Forza Horizon 3 in 2016 and Forza Horizon 4 in 2018, so I expect to see some incredible Xbox Series X gameplay, 4K 60 with ray tracing, and I'm sure they have some unique twists to this game. Forza Horizon 4 introduced seasons. I wonder what the draw will be for Forza Horizon 5 set in Mexico, and I believe they will say it is coming sometime in October. Another game that I fully expect to be at the show is Double Fine's Psychonauts 2. I also think we will get a meaty demo, maybe 4 to 5 minutes, alongside an August release date. I know a lot of you have been expecting a shadow drop, which would be pretty cool, but I think Psychonauts 2 is a little bit further out. It's going to release in August. Another game that is 100% shoo-in to show up here with a brand new trailer and a release date, I think sometime in July, is Flight Simulator for the Xbox Series X and S. It came out on PC last year, one of the best looking games ever made, and we already know that this game is coming to the Series X. They said summer, which is why during this game's conference we will get an actual release date I think sometime in July, and I bet you that trailer is going to look incredible. Another game I absolutely expect to make an appearance is probably the biggest new IP that Xbox launched this past generation, and that is Sea of Thieves. I think it shows up in some trailer form announcing some sort of huge expansion and upgrade to the game that will be hitting real soon. And sort of sticking with that live service theme that Sea of Thieves has, I do believe Bethesda, whether or not it's Pete Hines or somebody else at the company, will give updates on the next expansion for Elder Scrolls Online, as well as maybe a preview of the Series X update that's coming. I expect maybe the same thing to happen with Fallout 76. And we know that id Software has announced that Doom Eternal would be receiving a next-gen update. I would expect to find out more information about the Series X upgrade for Doom Eternal and Elder Scrolls Online at this show. Another title I expect to be at the show that is inching its way closer to that 1.0 release is Obsidian's Grounded. I think we'll see a new trailer with some of the new content that has made its way into the game, and probably a look at future content leading up to that 1.0 release. But it's not the only game that Obsidian is going to show, and I know a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, this is where they show off the first look gameplay for Avowed, but I don't think that's the case. I think Obsidian is going to focus on another one of their projects because they have about 4 or 5 games in the works at the studio. I think Obsidian is going to announce Outer Worlds 2 at this year's Game Showcase. I'm not sure it's going to be dated. I'm not even sure if it's going to be gameplay. Perhaps it's a CGI announcement trailer, but I think Xbox and Obsidian want to show fans of the Outer Worlds that world will continue, and we'll see it announced at this year's E3. The highly rumored Project Typhoon title that Jez Corden has been teasing for quite some time now will make its debut at this Game Showcase. We'll finally see what that game is all about, and I know people want to know who the developer is, what type of game it is, when it's coming out, and I'm sure once it's revealed to everybody, an avalanche of information will come out about the title. It will be there. And if we're talking more about what Bethesda's going to bring to the show, we already know that I think Starfield's going to open it, but I also think they're going to announce 2 new projects at the show. One of them is Project Omen by Arcane Austin. Their last game that they made was Prey back in 2017, and the rumors suggest that it's some vampire immersive sim. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of vampires, but I am a huge fan of Arcane Studios, so I'm really excited to see how they merge their immersive sim gameplay with the idea of vampires. I do believe that game shows up at this press conference, and they will date it for 2022. So with Starfield and Project Omen showing up from Arcane, what other Bethesda studios could show something new? I don't expect anything from Tango Gameworks. They have Ghostwire Tokyo that they need to release. We won't see it at this year's E3 alongside Deathloop from Arcane Lyon. Those are PlayStation games. They're not going to be at the Xbox show. I don't expect to see anything from Roundhouse or Alpha Dog. id Software won't be there, even though I do think we'll get an update about the Series X version of Doom Eternal. I'm thinking ZeniMax Online shows up here in a bigger way than just announcing the next expansion for Elder Scrolls Online. We do know for a fact they are working on a brand new game, a new IP potentially, and I think it might be Star Wars related. Now, before we get into the title, which I think is going to close the show, we got to talk about third party, because they're going to show up big at this year's show. For sure, we will be getting the gameplay debut of Battlefield 6, and I have been going back and forth about this idea of Battlefield 6 closing the show. Now, a lot of people, myself included, would say, you don't want to close the show with something that is not yours. Xbox did that in 2017 with Anthem, and they did it again in 2018 with Cyberpunk. However, if Microsoft and EA could come to an agreement of putting Battlefield 6 day one on Game Pass, that could close the show, but I doubt if that deal is already finalized that EA would announce it so far from release. So I don't think we get an announcement of Battlefield 6 coming to Game Pass on day one just yet, even though I do think it will happen by the time the game releases. We will see gameplay from it though, as well as other titles from the third parties like Back 4 Blood, Tales of Arise, and Scarlet Nexus. Now, maybe you could see a Game Pass announcement for Scarlet Nexus as it's coming out really soon after the Xbox Game Showcase, but as we all know, Game Pass is a huge thing from Xbox. They're going to have some announcements for Game Pass. Like, we all know the rumors surrounding Ubisoft or Uplay with the older Ubisoft games coming into Game Pass. I think it's certainly possible that deal is announced at the show. And just for a wild card out there, I think Xbox has heard all the fans and they've heard the complaints, and Microsoft officially announces an Xbox Game Pass family plan. If you're paying for multiple Game Pass subscriptions because you have kids or your wife games on another Xbox, you know how expensive paying for multiple subscriptions to Game Pass can be, and I think Xbox really wants to offer a Game Pass family plan, and this is the year that they finally do it and announce the details surrounding it, and it launches sometime later this year. Another thing that will happen for sure is Microsoft loves to do this is we will get some ID at Xbox stuff, a sizzle reel, maybe we get another look at the Ascent, which is coming out in July. I know a lot of people want to see Stalker 2, Warhammer Darktide, and The Gunk, and it's possible those titles show up for a second time, but I'm not really sure. I really do think we'll see new titles from ID at Xbox, like Hades finally coming to Xbox and being a Game Pass Day 1 title. Another thing that I think Xbox will want to focus on is their backwards compatibility, especially FPS boost titles. There's over 100, and I expect Microsoft to make an announcement here showcasing probably even 100 more titles that are going to get FPS boost and potentially announce resolution boost as well. Well, what about acquisitions? I know everybody gets excited when Microsoft goes on a spending spree and gets some more studios to bolster their first party lineup and deliver more exclusive games to Xbox fans. People were really excited in 2018 when they purchased Playground and Ninja Theory, In Exile, and Obsidian, among others. And then of course last year when Microsoft purchased Bethesda, it got everybody excited. And yes, I do think we will get the official announcement, probably when they're demoing Starfield, that that game will only be on Xbox and PC, and everybody will finally come to the conclusion that all the Bethesda games will only be on Xbox and PC, and they won't be coming to PlayStation unless Game Pass ends up on PlayStation, which I highly doubt ever happens. Now, as for any acquisitions, they are calling this a game showcase, and that would imply that they probably don't have any business to talk about at this show. So while it would be pretty damn cool to see Microsoft buy all of Warner Brothers Studios, and if not the entirety of Warner Brothers, maybe NetherRealm or Traveler's Tale, but I don't think that happens now. It's certainly possible it could happen down the road, but like with any acquisitions, things could completely fall apart, so I'm not expecting Xbox to make any acquisitions during this Xbox and Bethesda game showcase. Another thing I do think Xbox will talk about is Project xCloud, how it's coming to iOS and Windows 10 PC, and how it's already out on Android. And I think Microsoft will take the time to maybe tell us or show us what it's going to be like when the Series X blades are put into xCloud, and how that improves the current service that is using Xbox One S blades. Maybe they announce a beta for it during this show. I know people have been wondering what titles from last year will make a reappearance from Xbox Game Studios, but I do think that Fable, Perfect Dark, Everwild, State of Decay 3, Forza Motorsport, Avowed, Hellblade 2 will not show up this year. I think because of COVID and everything working from home, some of those titles were targeting 2022, but unfortunately were pushed to 2023. So I don't think we see anything from those titles. And I know everybody is looking for Wolfenstein 3 to see what Machine Games is doing. I don't think we see Indiana Jones, as I think that's too early in development. And I don't think we see Wolfenstein 3 either. I think that game is a couple years out. So what does that leave us with that closed the show? Well, you guessed it, it's Halo Infinite. I think it's going to close the show. Well, maybe it even could open it, but I'm going to stick with my prediction that Halo Infinite's going to close the show, and we'll get about 8 to 10 minutes of footage, mostly focused on multiplayer. If you take a look at that key art that Xbox used to announce the Bethesda and Xbox showcase, it's a bunch of multiplayer characters, so I expect this showing of Halo Infinite to be focused on multiplayer, maybe giving us a look at some of the new modes. I'm sure there's a 4v4 arena mode, as well as a big team battle. I know a lot of people are expecting a battle royale, and I do not think they have one ready for launch, so they won't talk about it, but I do believe there is a Battlefield-inspired new mode for Halo Infinite that they will reveal at this year's E3, where it's going to pit 50 Spartans versus 50 Spartans, where you can get in a squad of Spartans and spawn on each other like you can in Battlefield with a ton of vehicles and stuff. That'll be what they focus on for this reveal, and then they'll probably have a sizzle trailer of some cool campaign gameplay moments to end the show, where it ends with holiday 2021 without giving us an exact release date. My off-the-wall crazy prediction for the show is that Xbox and Ubisoft have come together where Xbox funds the next installment of, yes, Splinter Cell. And that game, instead of Halo Infinite, closes the show. It's probably not going to happen. It's just my dream. But if it were to happen, man, oh man, would that be Xbox's best show of all time? 10 out of 10. So Starfield opens up the show. I think it's going to look really impressive. Halo closes the show with some new multiplayer footage. And in between those, we have some new AAA game announcements, new updates to existing titles, some really cool ID at Xbox stuff, and some awesome Game Pass announcements. Anyways, guys, that's my preview for the Xbox Bethesda show coming on June 13th. Let me know what you think about it and what your predictions are in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Please share this out on social media or tell a friend about the channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell if you want to be notified immediately whenever I drop a new video like this. And you can always take your support even further by hitting that join button, where you will get access to channel badges and emotes for the Xbox 2 podcast we do every single Friday or Saturday with Jez Corden from Windows Central. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Later, guys.